Alright guys, so we're back today with another video in the series, and today we're just gonna touch on Active Directory and getting that installed. And this will probably be a multi-part video because with Active Directory, you have to set it up first, and then you have to add some machines, and resources to that later. So for now, because this server that I'm using, it has limited resources, ideally you don't want to put anything other than Hyper-V on your host machine. But to simplify things and for the sake of this video, I'm gonna install Active Directory as well onto my host machine. And as you can see, this is the machine that we use for our virtual machines in Hyper-V. And so for now, we're not going to make another machine. I've removed the machines that we had before. We're going to go through adding another machine in another video. And that video, I'm also going to touch on some extra additional settings for Hyper-V. And we'll make a few more videos with some of the things you can do with Hyper-V machines as well. So for now, it's pretty simple. Once you have your server set up, your host machine, usually you'll have a machine and it won't have anything installed, so just disregard the fact that I do have Hyper-V already configured, and I actually do have DNS installed already, even though it isn't active at the moment. Now, one thing you do want to make sure is you want to make sure that you have a static IP, okay, and you also want to make sure that everything is up to date on your server. And that's it, and everything's green. So it's pretty straightforward. You just hit manage and add roles and features, and you're going to hit next, role based, next, select server, so we only have the one, next. We're just going to do Active Directory and domain services. Just add features, just go with the defaults and hit next. Okay. And then you could read some of this information regarding Active Directory domain services and what it does, and it's really good for storing the information about the user's computers and other devices on a network. So if you're adding, it's really essential depending on how your network and your server is going to be set up. But if you're using Hyper-V and you're using multiple machines on a single host, there is really a lot of benefit to having Active Directory, and I always install Active Directory and make my own domain. So you just hit next, and for this one we're going to do restart the destination server automatically if required, and it will restart after this, so just keep that in mind because your domain will change. And just hit install, and it's going to install. And just wait for that to finish. I'm just having my morning coffee, so please excuse me if you can hear that. I usually record these videos, these tutorials in the start of my day. That way my mind is fresh, and you guys get the best of the best, and then I can go on and do the other things, take care of the other tasks that I have to take care of during my day. So that's how much I love you guys. I'm taking care of you first. So anybody, if you're using like a game server or anything like that, and you're setting up various Hyper-V machines, this is absolutely essential. I mean, you really should have an Active Directory. Your main server should be Active Directory. Now, I know it's not the best practices. Like I said, Microsoft has a set of best practices, what they feel is the best way to do things. And in regards to Hyper-V, they feel that Hyper-V should be the only role on a host machine. Now, this is all done. We can also promote this server to a domain controller. Now, the way that they say you should do things is you should have 2 domain controllers per you know, in your Active Directory. So Active Directory should have your Active Directory server, and then you should have 2 additional domain controllers, and the domain controllers kind of give it redundancy and act as a backup. In case one server goes down, you have a fallback on another. Now, because our resources are limited here, you know, our processor doesn't have, you know, a lot of CPUs to allot out. Even though we have a lot of memory, we don't have a lot of hard drive space. As you can see, we're limited to the amount of virtual machines that we can have on this particular machine. So we're going to promote this server to a domain controller, okay, the host machine, which is also going to be the Active Directory. Now, again, like I said, this is not the way that they feel you should do things, but to simplify things, and for this video, I'm just going to go ahead through with the next steps, okay? So you can just click promote this server to a domain controller, okay? And now you can add a new forest, add a domain controller to an existing domain, or add a domain to an existing forest. Now, we don't have a domain at the moment, right? I'm just gonna see what's going on with my ThinkPad here. Seems we're getting overheated. So let me just ramp up this fan a little bit here. Now again, I'm using an older ThinkPad to record this video, so you know, I'm really maxing out this machine when I do these sorts of things, so hopefully that should be just fine. Seems to be okay. Hopefully it will come down a little bit. Go up to 4. Alright, I'll take a look at that again in a second. It seems that it's overheating quite a bit. I did change the thermal paste on my ThinkPad the other day, and I'm not sure if it's satisfactory enough or not, so we'll see. Anyhow, back on track. So let's continue with this process. So I apologize if you can hear my ThinkPad fan in the background. So we don't have a forest, and so basically a forest is where your domain resides. Okay, think of it like a condo. So this domain is the condo, okay, and domain controllers and everything would be a part of that condo, okay, and then your users and stuff would live inside of that condo. All right, if that makes sense. So we're going to add a new forest, and this is your root domain. Now this domain, you can name it anything that you want, but for us, I'm just going to call it rylab.net, okay? Now that should be fine. Now I don't own the name rylab.net. I own rylab.xyz, but I don't think it really makes a difference for this video. Could also do .local, but for now we'll do .net. Okay? Just hit next. And it's going to ask you for... Now I normally shoot it back down to Windows Server 2008, Release Candidate 2. Just to make sure the function level for all your users and whatnot are compatible. Okay, and then of course you just create a password that you're going to remember. Okay, this is your root password. So this, when you add additional domain controllers, this is the password that you need. Okay, just hit next, and then hit next. It's gonna come up with the NetBIOS name for you. You'll probably see something like Rylab. You can just go with the default. If you want, you can change it, and then it will, yeah, so it'll be Rylab. You can change it and it'll check it again, but it should be fine. Okay, you just hit next. It's going to go through and check everything. It's going to ask you where you want to store your database, your log files, and so on. Just go with the defaults. Just hit next. It's going to show you a review of your selections and so on, so you can go through and just make sure you didn't make any mistake. You just hit next. It's going to verify the prerequisites for this domain controller operation. Okay, and if everything is successful, okay, so we have a check mark. All prerequisite checks pass successfully, which is great. And it's going to give you a couple warnings here. So for example, it's going to say domain controllers have a default security setting named, so that prevents weaker passwords and so on. Computer has one physical network adapter, does not have a static IP because we're only using IPv4. We're not going to use IPv6. And its delegation for this DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. It's because this is going to be the host Active Directory and domain controller. So all prerequisite checks completed. So you just go ahead and hit install. Okay, and that's going to go through the process and install everything for us. Now, when this is completed, the server will reboot. Now, hopefully for us, I don't run any issues with the restart. Yesterday I had a couple memory errors, and I actually had to connect a monitor to my server and go back into the BIOS, and this processor does not like to be overclocked whatsoever. So I had a boot error, so I had to go back in and reset the BIOS and get it to boot back up for us. So hopefully everything will restart without any problems today. So, and again, I just booted this server up. I actually just started it up for this video so we could go through and I could show you how to get Active Directory installed. So it says you're going to be able to sign out, and that's fine. It's going to go ahead and it's going to reboot. We'll just give that a few minutes. And I actually have my monitor here still connected, so I will watch in the background and I will see what's going on with this fan here. In the meantime, I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because I'm recording. Let's see what the BIOS control. Yeah, I seem to be running quite hot today on my ThinkPad here. And I don't know why. I'm assuming it's because I'm recording. I normally don't see my fan get that high, so I'm just hoping that it's because I'm recording today. So we'll just max the fan out here. So even though you can't see it at the moment, the server's restarting, and because it's connected to another monitor, and I only have my ThinkPad, I don't have another camera at the moment to record the other screen. So basically it has restarted successfully, and it's now applying the computer settings, and I do not believe we will be able to connect until it completes that process. We can try, but I don't think so. Let's see. Oh, maybe. Oh yeah, there we go. So now it's probably going to ask us for another password. So hopefully, as you can see, it's setting the group policy client at the moment. So it's just going through some additional configurations in the background for the restart process there. I don't know why my fans are just... I don't know why my ThinkPad is just having such an issue today. Possibly it's... Never had a problem recording before. Maybe it's just because I'm monitoring it now, and I found an application online where I could monitor my CPU temperatures and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just assuming that it's because I'm recording. Possibly it's my NVIDIA graphics settings in my ThinkPad. I don't really know. Let me just take a look here. As you can see, got some pretty high temperatures there. Normally it doesn't go above, you know, 60, 65. So I'm not sure. I did change the thermal paste. I got some MX4 and put on there. So I do like the fact that I can set my fan to max out, but I don't know. Maybe it's just I also have a new battery. You can see it's 100%. It's not charging right now. It is plugged in though. Overclock. It does overclock quite nice, which I do like. So possibly it's because I have my, where is it? Oh, I think it's on balance. Yeah, it's on balance. It's not even on high performance. So maybe we should just click it into high performance, and that way maybe it'll stop jumping around so much in the temperature. Maybe the clock will stay. Yeah, there we go. It's gonna stay at around. Anyhow, let's get back on track here. Apologies for the long reboot on Active Directory, but that's unfortunately a part of the process. And I'm not proficient enough with this recording software to know how to pause recording and carry on with it once it's completed. But it should be finished any second now. I'm pretty sure. So it must be something to do with my NVIDIA settings, I believe. That's probably what it is, because I don't recall the temperature being that high before. So let's see. Let's try to bring this down to balance, or performance rather. And let's go through some of these settings here and just make sure that, let's see, yeah, okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why my laptop today is, my ThinkPad is just running really hot. So I mean, it's still green. I mean, it's within the normal working parameters. It's just, it kind of freaks me out a little bit to see temperatures so quite high. So let's see, it looks like our remote desktop has finished there. So let's go ahead and, now that password isn't going to work anymore. Oh wow, okay, well we're right back in where we were. We didn't even have to log in, which is great. So I'm actually going to close that actually, because I think it may have logged us into the wrong account. So let's just delete these credentials. And we're going to use Rylab administrator. Let's see if that works. Okay, that did, as you can see now. So let me explain what I did there. So when you've installed Active Directory, you have to now log in as the Active Directory administrator, right? So for example, you know, you can't just log in like before just by typing in let's see, you can't log in now like before. You could just type in administrator and your password. So now you'll have to type in your domain that you just created, and then the administrator. Okay. All right, and then your password, and that's how you can log in. We're not going to save that. We're going to delete it actually, so we don't need it. Okay, so now as you can see, Active Directory is now installed. Well, let's just go here and straighten this out. And again, I apologize for my excessive ThinkPad fan noise this morning. I did change the thermal paste like I said, but I don't know what's going on there. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So now if you go to tools, we could see here that we've got Active Directory, and we have our rylab.net here that we just created. Okay, and here we can list our computers, our domain controllers, right, and our users, right. So now if you wanted to add another organizational unit, like you know, you could add anything you want. So you can add a new computer, a new group. So if you wanted to add a group, like you know, you could add a group. So we can get into that a little bit later on. Anyhow, we also have our sites and services here. So if we go into our sites and services, we can see this is our server here, right? Okay. And in another video, we're going to add an additional domain controller. So for now, with this default first name, we can actually rename this. We can call it actually what it is. So we'll call it Rylab. Okay, and that helps out with, you know, trying to add other servers and so on later on down the line. There's some really detailed instructions and information online within regards to this, but it's always a good idea to rename it for location purposes, right? Okay, so that's it. And we have our, of course, we have our DNS we can check now. Now, the thing with DNS, so we'll have to, as you can see, we've got rylab.net here. So we're going to have to go in and configure some of these IP address here, because this is the domain controller now. So we want to make sure that when we add other domains in the future, or sorry, when we add other computers and users in the future, they are going to be able to see our domain. So what we want to do is, let's just minimize some of this stuff to get this to work properly here. So right now our DNS is just looping back to ourselves, so we're going to want to grab some of our DNS IP addresses here, and these are public DNS servers, by the way, so don't even bother trying to get into these because they're owned by the service provider, so good luck. Okay, so we can actually just add this one. And then we can add this one. And we can also add our loopback, okay? And we're gonna put here rylab.net. We're gonna click this, click OK, click OK, OK, close. Alright, so you still have network connectivity there. Alright, we need some updates, of course. So we'll just go ahead and initiate that updates there. So we've got our IP all set up now there, and we have our Active Directory going. You can also check out the Active Directory. Let's just check this for a second. Domains and trusts. There's nothing to worry about there right now. We can check out this Active Directory Administrative Center. In here you can do a lot of different things. You can configure your Active Directory. It's like a whole other Active Directory management center. So you know, you can add users and so on and so forth, right? You know, you can add users, right? You know, you can delegate dynamic access and so on, right? So like if you wanna add users and stuff, you can do that, right? So if you wanted to go in here and, you know, go into the users, you can add new users and stuff like that. And so let's say if you wanted to add a user, you know, you can add someone in here and fill out all their information and so on and so forth, right? So we're going to cancel because we don't want to do that right now. Okay, so it's really nice, handy. I actually prefer to use the actual Active Directory users and computers interface. I just find it a little bit easier to keep things organized. I mean, these are all the defaults, right? So I usually make an organizational unit. So say for example, I might make a new organizational unit called, you know, RILAB, right? Okay, a group type, and then let's see. Oh, where did that go? Did I forget something? Oops, I totally did the wrong thing there. I think I added that into groups, didn't I? I did. Security group. Let me delete that accidentally. I meant to new, oh geez, new organizational unit. There we go. So we can create, so we're already in RILAB.net, so let's just name it something else like Toronto, right? And down in here, you know, in Toronto, we can make a new group. So we could call this group, you know, admins or something like that. Okay. All right. And so in here we have a security group, right? You know. Okay. You can see we have an organizational unit, an admins group inside of the Toronto, right? So we can go ahead and we can add users and so on, right? So if we want to add a user, we can just add a user. Initials, we'll just leave that for now. Last name Tom. So user login, you know, Tom, right? Okay. And then you can give them a password, and then for now we can just no password for now, right? So Tom would have tom@rilab.net and so on. Okay, but this is, like I said, this is more into like advanced Active Directory organizational units and so on and so forth. So for now, we won't really get into that sort of thing. So let's just see if we can see if, oh yeah. So this is actually protected from deletion. Managed by, anyway, we'll figure that out later. So that's how you install Active Directory, okay? And you can see here now the domain has changed from workgroup to rilab.net, right? Automatically. So it's no longer a part of that work group anymore. It's now part of Rylab.net. So in the next video, what we're going to do, I think I pretty much covered the install process. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add another machine into this virtual machine here, and then we're going to add that firstly to our Active Directory, and then we're going to promote that to a domain controller as well. And so I'll kind of show you the process of how you can add additional machines, and then you know, make it a lot easier. So basically, when you go to the All Servers tab here, when you go to Add Servers, when you have Active Directory, right, in the Rylab, once they're added, you could find them just by hitting the Find Now, and then you could add them, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with them and stuff like that. So alright, so that's pretty much it. I hope you like this video, and again, I apologize for getting off track there with my CPU fan and the temperature there, but I'll try to remedy that shortly. If this video helped you, if you liked it, just you know, go ahead, hit the like button and subscribe. You can always visit my website, of course, and I'll put the information in the description below. The next video in the series will probably add another a virtual machine, and then we'll set that up quickly, and then we're gonna add that to the Active Directory, and then the following video will be promoting that server to a domain controller. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.